Bethany Bravery here. Welcome back to another episode of the Bringing Her Hope podcast. I know this face may not look so familiar because she was visiting with us in season 6, but now she's on our YouTube version. But Heather McMillan, thank you so much for being back on the show, girl.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. This is exciting.
It is. So I know a lot of people have gotten to listen to the previous episode. And if you haven't, you can head to, it's season 6 and it's episode 4. It's how to thrive in the midst of catastrophe. But Heather, just a little bit about you in case they haven't had a chance to listen.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I am a Texas girl, originally from Oregon, and I have just been blessed by God to walk extremely closely with him through unbelievable health challenges. Also, though, I've lived on the mission field. I've raised 4 beautiful children that are all adults. My husband and I are just thriving where God has us right now. And yeah, I have a dog and a bird and a hobby wood building business. And I don't know. I just feel like I'm living just the most exciting life as just a normal everyday person, and I'm just loving it.
I love it. I have 2 teenagers and I'm like, oh my gosh, a woman who's made it through and her children are
Right?
adults and all the things, like we can do this together. It's so
Yes.
good. Oh, I love
Yes.
that. So for those of you that are watching or listening, Heather contacted me a little while ago and said, Bethany, I have a part 2 of this story. And so we're going to be talking about the topic of what you don't see today. And so this is going to be adventure. This is going to be a situation we're probably going to have to buckle up a little bit to see what God is doing in your life. So Heather, go ahead and take us along this journey.
Oh, I am so thrilled to be able to do this. My last episode was hard to get through for me. I think I mentioned in the middle of it that it's not every day that I just sit down and kind of think through all the steps has memories attached. There were children involved. My husband was there. It had an effect on so many precious things in my life with each difficult step that I walked through. And when I say me, it's so important that listeners, that I'm very aware that this is actually you, that you've walked through things. They'll be different than mine or different order. There'll be some similarities, but pain is pain. The unknown is scary for all of us. Our dependence on God is at a premium in our lives. So when I'm talking about my journey, I'm really hoping that you'll relate it more than just thinking, oh, wow, that's, interesting what she went through. Please think about it. I've been through this, and I could go through that as well. And I could see what she's seeing now. And I'm really hoping that that's your takeaway, because I do believe that it will bring tremendous amount of hope, which is just Bethany's heart as well. So my story ended when I was on last time, where I was sharing a little bit that I was in the middle still of some difficult things. And one of them was that my medication was for my kidney transplant, and I have not been getting along. So it's been 2 years, and it's just been an upside down roller coaster for me. It's been causing my hair to fall out. It's caused nausea just every day, nausea, low grade headache every day. And I'm finally getting to the place where my kidney is really solid. And so they're able to reduce my medicine a little bit. And I'm feeling so much better. I was thinking the other day when I was preparing for this talk, I thought I might come across really hyper because I'm feeling so good.
You're like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Mm.
Also, you might hear my bird. She's
I
a
do.
canary.
It's very relaxing. I'm like, oh, I
Yeah,
feel like we're like at a spa, and then you can
we
hear
are.
the birds
We're
in the
we're
background.
we're at a golf course or
Oh
something, and
my
there's
gosh,
just
that's
chirping
hilarious.
going on. Yeah, so she's a sweet little canary. And the more animated I get, the
Oh, they're
more she'll try to compete with me. I hope it's not too loud.
I love
But
it.
here, I'll just calm down. Here's my amazing story that was happening to me at the time that we recorded last time. And I'm going to end with the caveat that it's turned out just fine.
Mm,
But at the moment, I did not know.
yeah.
And about is what I didn't see, what I couldn't see. At the time that you and I were talking, I was going blind
Mm,
and I knew it. And I was bewildered by it.
mm,
I I had been told by my doctor,
mm,
I had been experiencing the symptoms that he had told me. I was the age, it was the age range of the disease that he had shared with me that I had.
mm,
Um, it was getting more rapid. And what was happening with me is I was losing my central vision. So it's like macular degeneration, but mine was a genetic malformity
mm,
that was called macular dystrophy. And what happens is this, that when you're born, there's extra pigments in the back of your eye that over time start to destroy the cells in the back of your eye, and
mm.
they begin to die. And so by the time you get to your late 40s, early 50s, which I'm 52, and this really did start when I was like in like around 46, 47, that I began noticing it. Um, it begins to destroy those cells. And so what happens is you lose the central vision.
Oh,
And it started off for me that I just, things were just grainy and blurry. And I struggled when I was watching TV to read anything that was written on the screen or even to find something on the screen because it was just blurry, or people's faces across the room were blurry. And I kept thinking, well, there's a glare. Or I kept thinking, well, my lenses are just, my prescription's old.
mm,
Well, part of my story is that because of a tremendous amount of medical bills. There's a lot of um, things that we cannot afford.
yeah.
So we don't go on vacations. We do our staycations, which we love. We, we eat simply.
Mhm.
There's a lot of medical things that I would like to do that I have not been able to do. Now, by God's grace, and I'll just take a second to say this, that during this time, my husband got a offer from his life insurance company to change his rate. And so he had a physical, and the man is absolutely perfectly healthy in every way. I mean, he doesn't have a single health concern at all
Yeah,
after a thorough physical.
yeah.
He's never even had a cavity, I don't think, since I've known him. So, so what's happened though is that my medical bills have been untold amounts of medical bills. And so when I think, okay, I really, really would love to go to the chiropractor,
Mm,
or I would really love to go get my eyes examined and get new prescriptions, but I'm going to choose between glasses and contacts and not get both. And then I'm going to use my contacts for months and months and months and months and months before I throw them out, because in my mind, I just keep thinking, I just don't want to go and tell Elton I
mm,
need to go do this expensive thing,
right.
because he's under financial pressure a lot
Mhm,
and doesn't even tell me most of the time.
mhm,
So, with that kind of as a backstory, finding out that I had this eye problem, I didn't go right away to figure out what it was.
mhm.
I just kept thinking, well, I already know what it is. And, I'm a creative, so I'm a problem solver. So I've already got it figured out.
Yeah.
I know what it is. and going in isn't going to make it go away.
Mm,
Eventually, I'll go in, I'll get better contacts, things will be fine. I just need to wait.
yeah.
To the tune of, I waited till right before COVID and then couldn't get in again for months, for another year. And another year and a half went by and all of this, and my eyes were just getting worse. So by the time I went in and the doctor told me, you have this condition, and he said, don't feel bad. You didn't do anything to make this worse. You couldn't have done anything about it,
Mm,
but there's nothing we can do.
wow.
And I said, should I go to a specialist? And he said, I really recommend that you do,
Mm,
but he's not going to be able to change the facts.
right.
And it's going to cost you out of pocket.
Hmm.
I don't have any insurance for that part, for vision or dental or anything. And so I just decided that the best thing for me to do was just to wait a while, wait till I could afford it. But in the meantime, I just needed to get some peace, get used to the idea.
Mm,
And so in my heart, I I understood it with my mind, but in my heart, I just thought, how in the world
mhm,
could this really be happening to me?
yeah.
Because I've been through so stinking much already.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was actually coming out of it and just really living an
Mm,
incredibly blessed life. I have a pickup truck that
yeah.
I absolutely love, and I am able to run errands for elderly people or what. I'm out and about in my community doing things
Yeah.
that driving in Dallas Fort Worth
Hmm.
is something that you cannot do if you don't have vision.
Yeah. Yes, that's true.
And I love my pickup.
Yeah.
I love my building business. You
Mm,
can't run power saws if you can't see.
yeah.
I have a hard enough time not chopping something off just because I'm going too fast and doing five things at one time.
Yeah.
You know, I love to decorate and paint, and um, color is I just adore color. And the problem with macular degeneration or macular dystrophy, which is what I had, you can't, you lose your ability to see color,
Mm,
you lose your ability to drive, you lose your ability to see words, and you lose your ability to see faces.
wow.
Those four things.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to be able to see
Hmm.
my daughter's husband,
Yeah.
my son's wedding, any of my grandchildren, the
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful face of my husband.
Mm,
And I wouldn't be able to, like I said, drive or work wood or see color. I found myself staring at things
mm,
and staring at Elton, staring at my daughter and my sons, and staring at my rooms and the colors and my hands. I would stare at my hands and I would say, this is what they looked like.
yeah.
And I would start to say, looked. And
Mm,
what I saw, I would start to say, this is what I remember seeing. And
mm,
I was trying really hard to memorize how things looked
yeah.
because I wasn't going to be able to enjoy it. And I remember I was in an airplane and we were flying, and I was looking out the window at the moon, and the moon was just like six moons. It was
Mm,
so blurry. It was just a big light that had no crispness to it. And tears would just run down my face in the private because I was broken inside over what I couldn't see.
mhm,
Already what I couldn't see, but even more what I wasn't going to be able to see.
yeah.
And when I looked it up and I did a little bit of research about it, this condition, it just said very little about it. It just said simply You will still know where, but you won't know what.
Mm,
So I can still see where I am and who's around me. The moment I turn to look at it, it disappears.
mm,
And so you look away again, hoping that somehow you'll catch a glimpse of it.
mm,
And it began to be that glimpses were all I was going to know. And I begin to I begin to cry over that. And the Lord began to share some things with me that were so precious. And one of the things that he shared with me, and he's shared with me this before, but I hadn't really grasped it. And that was that you and I, Bethany, we are stuck on this planet
mm.
with only five senses.
Yeah.
And we are at such a tremendous disadvantage with just five senses
Mm,
because the whole rest of the cosmos, above the earth, below the earth, even on the earth, can see what's happening in the spirit.
so good.
They can see the consequences of our words,
Yep.
and we cannot see them.
Mm-hmm.
They can see the evidence of the love of God and the way God looks at us.
Yeah.
And we cannot
Mm,
see how he's looking at us
yeah.
or if he's looking at us.
Yeah.
There's a favorite song I love by Ben Rector, and it says, I can't see you listening.
Mm,
I can't see you listening.
yeah.
I believe you are, but there's so many times when I'm talking to someone and I get all going. I look back to see
Mm,
if they're listening.
yeah.
I look to see where their eyes are focused and if they look distracted. And
Mm,
you know how we are. We know immediately, you're not listening. Well, yes, I am. Well, you're not looking at me.
yeah.
And we can't see that. And we can't see the reward for our suffering. So many times, I'm sure you felt this way. You're the only one who knows how hard you're trying. You're the only one who knows how deeply something affects you
Yeah.
or how thoughtful you've been, whether it worked out or didn't work out. You thought about it and you cared about it, and no one can see that. But God can see it. But we can't see how he feels about that, and we can't see the reward that he's prepared for us.
So true.
And I think if we could see more, we would say, oh, that was worth it.
Mm,
I just actually got a job for the first time in 100 years because I'm feeling so well.
yeah.
And it's a part time job, and it takes a lot of hours to work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I get a paycheck
Yeah.
and it's so worth it. So whether or not I'm having a hard day or a good day, I've calculated in before I took the job
Yeah.
that the amount of hours, no matter what happened during those hours, was worth the fact that I was getting a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the boss told me how much I'd be getting paid, and I said, I don't think that it's worth it to me. And
Mm,
he said, well, what would make it worth it? And I countered with a different amount.
mm-hmm.
And then I explained to him why I felt like I was worth that amount.
Yeah.
Because inside I did know that if he didn't agree with me and didn't think I was worth that amount, that was okay.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to know that whatever I was doing during those hours, it
Mm,
was going to be worth it because of the reward that I was going to get.
yeah.
And I was turning the reward over to Elton because Elton has been under a lot of pressure financially, like I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And for me to be able to alleviate that was the reward for me.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to be so valuable to him and be so incredibly helpful that the amount that they were offering me just didn't feel like it was really going to do it for me.
Yeah.
I wanted him to say, not just say, oh, thanks, that helps. I wanted him to be able to say to me, "Oh, that is going to be so great. I'm going to feel amazing
Yeah.
when that check comes in." And so his response to my reward going into his hand was what I was looking forward to. And of course, all of this ties in so beautifully with the fact that the reward of our suffering that we receive,
Mhm.
we in the end get to turn it over
Yep.
to the one who has done it all for
Yes.
us.
Yes.
And I don't think we've realized
Mm.
how good that's going to feel.
Yeah.
I just think that's going to feel really good.
Yeah. I think so often we can get stuck in our eyes being fixed on our circumstances and forget that it's important for us to have this eternal perspective, that the veil will be a little bit thinner each day because we still are looking towards that this is our temporary home.
Yeah, it's our temporary home. And where we go, that's been prepared for us, is going to blow our minds. And the reward that we will get to give to the Son of God is going to be, I mean, it's like we get two rewards. We get the one of not being here but being there, and then we get what we get to give, and all of it together is just, we can't see it.
Yeah.
So we have to choose to look for it. We have to choose to believe it.
Yeah.
And in the end, with my vision, I finally did call my original doctor back and told him my vision is getting so bad.
Mm,
I really need, I really do think I want to go to the specialist.
yeah.
So he gave me the name of someone and I got in to see him. And he did some real technical tests on me. And he came back in and he said, "Well, you don't have this genetic condition."
No way.
And I said, "I knew I didn't. I knew there was no way in the world that that I had that." I said, "But what's wrong with me? Because I cannot
Yeah.
see."
Yeah.
And he said to me, he said, "Your eyes are
Mm,
so dehydrated." He said, "They are just," he goes, "and you are losing your vision
yeah.
because your eyes are dehydrated. They're starving from hydration and from air, from
Mm,
oxygen." And he said, "These contact lenses that you gave me," he said, they they are completely packed with whatever oils and tears and calcium, whatever."
yeah.
He said, "There's no air getting to your eye through
Mm,
them." And he said, "There's no um, moisture getting to your eyes." And I said, "Well, I put eye drops in a couple times a day." And
mhm.
he said, "Well, the moisture's not getting to the part of the eye that needs it because the contact is on." And he said, "How often do you wear your glasses?" And I said, "Never, because the prescription," you're going to laugh at me, "the prescription is 20 years old." I don't wear them hardly unless I have an eye infection. I have to. And he said, "Well, you have worse than an eye infection going on." He goes, "Your eyes are completely just shriveled." He said, "Eyes don't get hydration from anything but the outside.
Wow.
They don't get anything at all from inside. So drinking water or whatever isn't going to hydrate your eyeball.
Right.
And they don't get any air from your blood. It's all only from exterior source." And he said, "It's the only part of your body like that.
Mm,
It has to receive it from the outside."
yeah.
So, and which shouldn't be a problem, if we weren't putting, essentially saran wrap over them and leaving it on, even though
Yeah.
we're told to take them out at night.
Yes.
And so he said, "No more contacts." He
Mm,
said, "Get your prescription for your glasses filled, and you just need to hydrate." He goes, "You need to hydrate your eyes 6, 7, 8, 10 times a day."
Wow.
So I've been doing that. And what do you know? I can see pretty
Woohoo!
darn good. Oh my goodness. So I felt pretty bad.
Yeah.
I was like, what have I done to myself?
Wow.
But you know what? We're human beings and we can only do so much.
Yep.
And I I was doing everything I could do.
Yeah.
And this was just beyond me to take care of.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you know there's a problem, you know you need to quit eating sugar, you know you need to do something and you just don't have it in you
Yeah.
and you need help.
Mhm.
And I needed this kick in the pants for sure. Um, but in the meantime, the Lord began to help me to understand how important it is that if I lost my natural vision, what would I still have?
Yep.
And I had grown to the place in my relationship with God that I can see Him.
Mm.
I can see His love. I can see His compassion. There are so many things that I can see. I'm beginning to see the reward
Yeah.
for all of what I've gone through. And in seeing that, in seeing hope, we do not walk around discouraged.
Mm.
In seeing the reward, we don't walk around depressed with what it's costing us
Yeah.
because we think it's worth it.
Yeah.
And so I have just had such a new joy enter my life. Um, the joy of having what returned to me, what I thought I was losing.
Mm.
Um, I love my truck even more. I'm making better use of it. I'm loving going to other people's homes and helping them decorate just for free, just because I realized what it would have been if I couldn't.
Yeah.
I'm still staring at people.
Mm.
I'm finding myself still taking in the beauty of the faces of people
Yeah.
and thinking, oh, that precious face. I'm amazed how many people say to me, oh, don't look at me.
Mm.
Don't look at my house. Oh, don't look at me. I'm not dressed. I don't look at me. I'm not ready.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no, I want to see you. I
Mm.
want to see what life has done to you.
Mm.
I want to see what the Lord has done to you. I want to see the beauty of the glow of Jesus on your face.
Yeah.
I want to look into your eyes and see if he's there or if he needs to be there and you need to be introduced to him. Because the eyes are the window of the soul and you can see so much
Yeah.
in eyes. And so, Jesus, when he was talking to his disciples after he was resurrected, and they thought, we'll never see him again,
Mm.
right? And then, Thomas said, "Well, I don't know if it was ever him to begin with. So, what's the big deal? I don't really believe it."
Yeah.
So, all of that I knew of him is suspect.
Yeah.
I don't believe my eyes. I don't believe what I saw because it wasn't enough to convince me. And by the way, I don't think there's anything wrong with that
Mm.
honest statement.
Yeah.
Because Jesus said to Thomas, "Blessed are you."
Mhm.
He said, "Blessed are you now that you've seen because you believe." And then he said something to us. And I think this is the only scripture in the Bible where Jesus actually spoke directly to those of us who weren't there.
Mm.
He said all of the things he said, knowing we would hear them and knowing we would learn about them. But he actually turned and talked directly to us.
Yeah.
He said, "But blessed are those who have never seen and still believe." their reward will be great.
Mm,
Their blessing will be great.
yeah.
One version says they'll be greatly blessed indeed. One version says their reward will be greater than yours.
Mm,
So for those of us who sort of bemoan the fact that we didn't get to be there, didn't get to see him, we get to actually have a greater blessing because we're trapped in these bodies that have five senses,
yeah.
and other people got to touch him and listen to him and see him, and their senses were filled with the essence of him.
Yeah.
But yet here we are being so doubly blessed because here we are trapped in these senseless bodies, I say, because they're missing the one important sense. But yet we believe with our heart and we can see with the eyes of our spirit and eternal eyes, like you've said.
Yeah.
And we are are experiencing him just as much, if not more, because our five senses can't handle what our spirit can.
Mm-hmm.
And our spirit is taking it in and soaking it in and being awed and refreshed and amazed and transformed and fed and delighted and in awe all the time
Yeah.
when we're with him.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible thing to see with the eyes of the spirit and to know that he's blessing us.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are the things that have come from this little bump in my road that
Mm.
looked like it was going to be an absolute catastrophe.
Oh my goodness.
It looked like it was going to be my worst story yet.
Yeah.
And it has turned out to be just a precious little nugget that I've received from the Lord, um, and a joy for me to know
Yeah.
and to have walked through.
What would you say to the woman who's watching or who's listening and maybe they don't have yet an outcome? They don't have a decision made. They're in the middle of what feels like the worst situation. And they're asking you, Heather, how do I put on those glasses? How do I see things from this perspective? What do I do to enter into that? So I'm not fixing my eyes so much on my earthly circumstances, but I'm fixing my eyes on him. What would you say to her?
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna come at that from a very practical answer.
Yeah.
I I have been amazed, and I think every woman who listens could be, if they're, just take a moment, they could see where I'm coming from. How very little think the satisfaction of things lasts.
Mm, mm,
If you've ever gone on a diet, you'll know this very well.
yeah.
You really, really want something delicious. You put it off all afternoon. You finally indulge yourself, and then it's gone.
Hmm.
But you have to mark the calories for that thing down.
Yeah.
And inside your head, well, nothing's really changed because I just ate it and it's inside of me now and I can't get it back out.
Hmm.
So now I have to do an even harder job of um, depriving myself again
Hmm.
because I gave in and let myself have that little treat.
Right.
It's not a very fun feeling.
Hmm.
And I think that pretty much everything in the world has a similar shelf life as far as the
Hmm.
satisfaction of it goes.
Love that term, shelf life. That's good. Keep preaching, Heather. Keep preaching.
It really does. It's really true. I know people who have clothes hanging in their closets that still have the tags.
Yeah.
Do you have clothes with tags on them in your closet?
Yeah.
It's because we see something and really want it and we're excited.
Hmm.
And we get it thinking it's going to feel so good when we wear it. And then we don't wear it for some reason because suddenly evaporated into thin air has gone that euphoric, wonderful feeling that we felt in the store.
Yeah.
The shelf life of that joy is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't even put the item on yet.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll put it on and then take it off and put it on and take it off. And then we say, this would be really great if I had some shoes.
Mm.
This would be great if I had the right jacket to wear with it because it's actually see through the straps, the this, the that. I need to change it somehow. And so that's what I feel like when we are focusing on I wish that I had a perfect job or a better job,
Yeah.
or I wish that felt better every day. I'm going to tell you that I've had about let's just say this week I've had 6 or 7 days where I felt really really good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually remember them.
Mm.
I actually remember right now that today's a good day at this moment. I'm remembering it. I'm thinking about it right now. If I'm smart, I'm holding on to that feeling. But
Mm-hmm.
oh, that moment I was just talking about, that's actually gone. And
Mm.
now I'm in a new one.
Yeah.
How am I feeling right now? Okay, here's the thing about God. He's with me. He's with me now. He's with me now.
Mm-hmm.
All the nows, all the thens, all the will be's, all of the however small, minute sliver of time you can slice it into.
Yeah.
And so if you were living in a hard job for a slice of 6 years, it's over now, and you're living in a job now for a slice of this minutia of time.
Mm-hmm.
And he's with me now. And all of that, what I'm saying is has helped me to stop looking at the natural and what I wish was happening and what I wish I had and what I think I need.
Yeah.
Because most of it is worry about something that hasn't happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm living in that moment, it will feel just like living in this moment,
Mm. So
except
true.
I'll be thinking about the next one.
Yeah.
We have to focus our attention on the presence of God
Mm-hmm.
and the present of God.
Yeah.
And we have to allow our hearts to realize that the shelf life and the satisfaction of him endures
Hmm.
all through the test of all time and the test of all circumstances.
Yeah.
When you stub your toe, you still have a cheesecake in the fridge,
Mm-hmm.
but suddenly you're not thinking about the cheesecake, you're thinking about the toe.
Right.
And so no matter what joyous thing you're in the middle of, there's always something negative that could be taking your attention.
Mm-hmm.
But the positive, beautiful cheesecake of the Holy Spirit is always on our tongue.
Mm. Yeah.
The taste of him, the smell of him, the sight of him, the sound of him,
Yeah.
the comfort of him is always around us. And so to take our eyes off even the joys of this life,
Mm-hmm.
to take our eyes off the sorrows of this life,
Yeah.
it's not just learning to be more grateful for the joys of this life, because those joys are fleeting.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a friend who needed a job desperately and got one and
Mm-hmm.
and isn't happy. And I feel like I labored and prayed that job in for her.
Yeah.
And when I saw that it didn't change how she was feeling about her life, I was kind of mad
Mm.
because I realized God has a reason why he doesn't answer all of our prayers. They're not actually going to make us any happier.
Yeah.
Christmas comes and goes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I mentioned in my last podcast, we don't remember what we received in the past.
Yeah.
And we won't remember it anymore, what we get tomorrow, the
Mm-hmm.
next day.
Yeah.
So we are woefully caught in a cycle that there's only one answer to, and that is getting out of it.
Yeah. It's good.
And we have to teach ourselves to live in a realm outside of the earthly rock that we're floating around space on.
Yep.
My joy is complete when I have the mind of Christ.
Yep.
And what that means to me is that I'm thinking his thoughts, I'm seeing what he sees, and I'm not getting overly, ridiculously hopeful or excited about anything that goes on down here. But
Yeah.
honestly, Bethany, neither does anything really bother me that much.
Hmm.
Even when I found out about my eyes, I was more shocked than I was upset.
Mm.
And I was shocked because I thought that I did not see this coming,
Literally. Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
And I cannot imagine why this would be part of my story,
Yeah.
because there's so much undone in my story that I'm pretty sure I'm closing in on. And it didn't feel like it was really going to happen if I couldn't drive my pickup
Right.
and couldn't work in my workshop and
Yeah.
couldn't see people's faces.
Yes.
But I still saw myself standing on the edge of a platform preaching.
Yeah.
But my husband was sitting in the front row saying, "Scoot back."
Don't fall off the stage. Yes. Yeah.
And so I knew he'd be there to help me.
Hmm.
And I knew I would still fulfill my purpose. I just felt like it was going to be hard. And I just was like, "Ugh, great. Do I really even want to do that?"
Yeah.
But there was not fear of the future. There was not dread. There was not anger. There was not sorrow. There was just, oh boy,
Hmm.
this is going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers your question. And I don't mean to make light of the tremendous pain that people are in the midst of right now.
Yeah.
But I would just say to not try to mask that pain by hoping for something tangible necessarily,
Yeah.
but to heal that pain by hoping for a deeper, more tender, more precious relationship with God,
So good.
asking to see him more clearly,
Hmm.
asking for his secrets. I had a little scripture here. No eye has seen, no ear has heard, and no mind has imagined what God has prepared for those who love him.
Mm.
But God revealed these things by his spirit. For his spirit searches out everything and shows us God's deep secrets.
Yeah.
So by the spirit, who's out there, I was going to say lurking about, but he's going to and fro of the face of the whole earth,
Mm.
gathering information, and he reveals it to the heart of those who are seeking. And when we're seeking for our life to be simple and easy and all the pain to be gone, we are distracting ourselves from what we could be seeking for, which is that precious
Mm.
secret place to find him in. And so the reason why there's a part two of my story is because I'm continuing to grow even through yet more shocking, catastrophic potential things.
Yeah.
And whether they've landed or not landed.
Mm.
And in the past, they all landed. And then this one didn't land.
Yeah.
This one just swooped down towards me and went scooping off into its own thing, far, far away from me,
Yeah.
never to be seen again.
Yes.
So no matter which one it is, though,
Mm.
I'm hoping that you'll see a similarity in the girl.
Yeah.
You're seeing the same girl,
Hmm.
the same. I'm not just going, "You're not going to believe how great this is." I'm still sobered by the fact that life isn't offering me everything.
Mm.
Life doesn't, the joys of life could not possibly satisfy.
Hmm.
Even if there was nothing bad, the joys of life don't have it all.
Yeah.
And so I am married to probably the most wonderful man in the world and am somewhat numb to, it just becomes part of normal
Mhm.
after a while.
Yeah.
It's just normal. And what is not normal is seeking after the precious face of God and feeling his presence. That always gives my heart a thrill.
Yeah.
So that, I think, is a little long answer to your question.
No, I love it. I've got one more question that I was just thinking about. For the person that is looking also at, it's a pandemic and the world feels a mess and I just want everything to go back to normal. One thing that I see in your story is you don't wait to live. You keep
Mhm.
living. You keep choosing the Lord. You keep choosing your purpose. So,
Mhm.
not even based off of what, like we just talked about, circumstances, how do you have the mindset to keep choosing to live
Yes.
the days that God has given you?
Yes, excellent. I would like to point out, as a woman of God, as a believer, the
Yeah.
two of us together, that this world is not going to get back to what is
Yep.
normal to us
Yep.
ever. It won't ever.
Yep.
And that's okay.
Yep.
It's always been a bad place. We just didn't know about it. We
Mhm.
didn't have as much knowledge coming in,
Yep.
information coming in. We didn't know.
Yep.
Um, because if it was bad for the individual, if it was bad for one little girl somewhere,
Mm.
then the world was bad.
Yeah.
So now suddenly my world is bad.
Hmm.
It's like people say, well, Christ must be coming back because there's persecution. Well, for millions of people, there's always been persecution.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
just more persecution for us now.
Yeah.
The kingdom of God is the only unshakable kingdom.
Amen.
And so for me, I I have only ever gotten to live one life. It's always started off very disrupted.
Hmm.
And so I would sneak out of bed when I wasn't feeling good to do little things that I knew if I got caught, people would say, well, you probably aren't as we thought you were. Well, actually, I really was, but I really laid in bed and thought, what if this is like this tomorrow?
Mm.
That would be 2 days,
Yeah.
then 3 days. Okay, these are actually life. These are actually breaths in and out, hours coming and going. The calendar is flipping.
Yeah.
Time is behind me. Time is coming toward me like a flash of light constantly shining in my eyes and coming towards me. But once it passes me, it's in the dark. It's behind me. I can't get it back. And so I'm facing forward and I'm like, I don't want any of this to get wasted.
Mm.
I want to run towards the light. I want to run towards the moments that I have. And I keep thinking of more things to do. And so I I could wait till I had the resources,
Mm.
or I could ask my best friend, God, who's got resources,
Amen.
do I have anything in my house that would fix this problem?
Mm.
Do I have it? Does anybody else have something that can fix this problem? If I find something, I'm like, what can I do with this?
Mhm.
There's so much creativity and resourcefulness um, and capacity to do things and to have things and to, if we don't stop and think this has only ever been done this way or I've only ever seen it like that.
Yep.
One of the great secrets of God, if you start asking to start searching after him instead of after life being perfect, is you start to see a use for a lot of things that nobody else sees a use for. And one of those things is really bad days.
Mhm.
And one of those things is really bad situations. You start to see a use for them.
Mhm.
So the pandemic for me was lonely, lonely, lonely.
Mm.
I had already been so lonely, but suddenly now everyone in my family had to come home.
Yeah.
Now it's like, this is good.
Mhm.
Our children are not used to just being with us.
Yeah.
And so they're missing their friends desperately. And so then we become their friend.
Mhm.
We we have to make adjustments in our lives when things get hard.
Yeah.
I don't think the shelves are ever going to be full again.
Hmm.
I don't think we're ever going to go to the store and the person at checkout says, "Did you find everything you were looking for?" again.
Hmm. Yeah.
They've kind of switched it up to, um, how was your thank you for choosing to shop with us today, or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, because there's shelves that are empty, and so being resourceful. Well, I've always been resourceful, so this isn't bothering me.
Yeah.
And so to prepare you for circumstances to change is the way that we start to look at the future with more promise.
Hmm.
And we think, I might not be able to go to the store and buy plants, but all of my neighbors grow plants. And if you don't know this about plants, they spread.
Yeah.
And so you can go ask if you can dig some of them up. Another thing they do, if they don't spread, is they grow seeds. So
Mhm.
that means you can go get seeds from your friends. So it's going to be one of the two ways.
Yeah.
Plants have to procreate
Yeah.
or they would have died out.
Yeah.
So you are looking for the way, how does this grow?
Yeah.
How does this spread? I need to tap into that. And then suddenly I'm completely involved in the natural cycle of how this thing grows and how this thing improves and how this thing gets better. And it's not dependent on anybody else.
Yeah.
It's dependent on how God made the cycle to work.
Mm.
And so for your friends and mine who are in a cycle where they're like, well, we're just going to wait this out, you'll be waiting.
Mhm.
You'll always be waiting for something.
Yeah. And this doesn't surprise God, right? Just like the entire situation that you've walked through, this doesn't surprise him. He's still the unshakable. He's still
Yeah.
consistent. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, so he hasn't changed at all. So all of the stuff around us, someone said to me, well, we're just going to have to think about doing church differently.
Mhm.
It's going to need to be more personal and more small and more loving the people around us and bringing them in. And I said, well, how is that any different? I mean, our corporate situation should be just the corporate situation, the corporate service.
Yeah.
We should be able to live easily without it because we're connected here.
Hmm.
Um, Miss it, yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. But that is literally not the end of the world. What we should be doing is nurturing one-on-one relationships with the people that we're with,
Yeah.
so that if we can't drive 20 minutes to our favorite church service, um, or we can't go to the store, even whatever, we have developed this relationship with the people around us. We passed through the pandemic with people in our greater neighborhood giving toilet paper to each other, um, helping each other with baby wipes. I mean, anything anyone needed. If somebody found a source for it, they would buy extra.
Mm.
And we took care of one another. And so it really that is a way that the Lord has prepared a human being. If
Mm.
you do life with other human beings,
Yeah.
um, it's not anything that was mandated by the government.
Right.
So if the government stops mandating it, you don't suddenly now don't know what to do.
Right.
It's mandated by the Spirit of God.
Mm.
And so he continues to speak the same thing no matter what's going on in our world.
Mm. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, Heather, thank you for reaching out for part two. I'm so excited about just the faithfulness of God, and it's so
Mhm.
cool to see how he continues to be faithful and how he's going to continue to be faithful in your life. And I loved what you said at the very beginning about this isn't just you telling your story. This is us seeing ourselves in that story as well and seeing what God is doing in our lives and continuing to grow us. Thank you for reminding us that no matter what our circumstances are, we get to worship him and praise him and seek him. And that he's got all of these extra senses that we don't always tap into, and to give our
Yes,
eternal perspective. So thank you, friend. I appreciate it so much.
I'm so glad. Thank you for having me, Bethany.
Absolutely.